Hi, this is Lenora Bresler, and I'm live on Facebook with my Christmas Delight in the Details episode number 3. We've been talking to you about details from the gospel story of the Bible, things that are sometimes overlooked in the telling of the nativity tale that will help you enjoy your Christmas even more. The wise men brought gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Now, why gold, frankincense, and myrrh? Well, you may have been told that the gold represented Christ's kingship and the frankincense, his priestly work, and then the myrrh, his suffering servant role, because myrrh was used in burial. If that is your understanding, you probably got that from Origen, an early church father who was very big about symbols. Now, I think Origen was a great guy, but pretty much scholars know that Origen was a little bit symbol happy. He had a symbol for everything. Everything had symbols. And it's great. I think it's fine to think that, but I think there might be another answer as well. You may remember that in episode 2, we talked about who the Magi were. And we talked about that they were very most likely descendants of the Magi of which Daniel, yes, Daniel of Daniel in the Lion's Den fame, became the chief Magi, the Babylonians, the ones that were known for interpreting dreams and stars, astronomy and astrology. So, if that's the case, then they would have been very familiar with the writings of Daniel and the Old Testament writings that he would have had access to during his time in the Babylonian courts as the chief Magi under 3 different governments. Now, the Magi understood that they were coming to worship a king. Magi didn't go worship people. Magi usually, if anybody was going to be worshipped, it was going to be the Magi themselves. They were the kingmakers. They were the most educated, most revered people, really, in the ancient world. They were counselors to kings. So the idea that these very noble personages who were used to being probably bowed down to themselves to some extent would come and humble themselves and bow down and worship. And the gospel says they worshiped. They understood that this was not just a man, that Jesus Christ was more than a man, that he was God and he was sent by God. Well, if you were a, let's face it, pagan Magi, and you believed that you were going to give homage to a god of a foreign land, a land that was not your own, you would do a lot of research, would you not, about how did that god want to be worshipped? And they would have had the Old Testament. They would have had the writings of Moses. If you go to Exodus chapter 30, that chapter delineates how the God of Israel wanted to be worshipped, talking about the furniture of the tabernacle, later also to be the furniture of the temple, the praying, the sacrifices. And when you read chapter 30 of Exodus, there are 3 things that come through with screaming clarity: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. All of the implements, all of the furniture, all of the coverings in the Holy of Holies, everything that was associated with God, the God of the Hebrews, the God of Israel, was covered, overlaid in gold. Frankincense and myrrh is what was used to represent worship, the fragrance on the altars. Even the clothing of the priests would have been just dipped in and had the fragrance of frankincense and myrrh. So if you were going to go worship the God of Israel, Exodus 30 told you what you needed to take: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Wise gifts, appropriate gifts for the King of the Jews. I'm Lenora Bresler. This is episode 3 of Christmas Delight in the Details. Merry Christmas.